Have you ever wondered why you just can't quite communicate with certain types of people? It could be that they have a personality type that's way different from yours. By using personality assessments, you can learn to communicate more effectively with different people and in turn close more sales, hire the right person for the right role in your company, and ultimately lead and manage a more cohesive team. In today's episode, I'll share how we use DISC personality assessments to recruit, hire, and manage the team at Ramblin' Jackson and how you can do that at your company, the weird truth about my personality and how to work well with me, and how, having used these assessments for years, the surprising impact my business has had in changing my personality as the business has grown. My name's Jack Justice, and welcome to the Landscaper's Guide to Modern Sales and Marketing. This show is all about helping the lawn and landscape industry increase your profit by attracting more of the right customers through marketing. And of course, as that happens, you're going to need to hire people, and you got to hire the right people. And that's what this show is all about, is using DISC personality assessments to hire, train, and manage your people. It's a pretty fascinating topic, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode.
We weren't getting the leads that I knew we could. We weren't getting the right leads.
What started happening is that our leads are more qualified.
Our sales have probably gone up by about 10 to 15% a year.
We're going to increase our sales volume by $1 million in a year.
What is DISC? DISC is a personality assessment originally created by William Moulton Marston. And I've learned various iterations of DISC from my first sales coach, Hugh Little, who called it social styles. And later from my coach, Wayne Herring. I've read a lot about it. I'm certainly not an expert in it. But in this video, I wanted to share some things that I have found that have worked in using DISC to manage my team at Ramblin' Jackson. Now, there are a lot of different assessments out there. There's Myers-Briggs. There's the Colby, there's all different kinds of things. They're basically designed to help us figure out what makes people tick. How can they be motivated? How are they going to interact in certain situations? And most importantly, how to communicate well with this person based on their personality. DISC is D-I-S-C, and the D stands for dominance. The I stands for influential. S stands for steadiness, and the C, I've seen varying ones, either compliance or conscientious. And let's dig into what those different letters actually mean when we're talking about behavior. When you're looking at the DISC quadrant, one of the things that's been really helpful for me in using DISC is to first look when I'm working with somebody is to determine, are they extroverted or introverted? So extroverted people are going to be bringing the energy to you. They're going to be probably leading the conversation when you meet them the first time, whereas an introverted person may be more quiet and waiting for you to talk first. In the DISC quadrant, on the top, we have people who are task focused, and on the bottom, we have people who are more people focused. And on one end of the spectrum, we have people who are introverted and, of course, people who are extroverted. While you're determining if somebody is more introverted or extroverted, next think about, are they more focused on tasks or numbers or data, or are they more focused on you or relationships or people? People who are extroverted and focused on tasks or numbers would be in the D quadrant. Those would be people who are more dominant. This is where my personality lies, and we'll talk more about that later. Now, people who are extroverted, but maybe more focused on people who are maybe the life of the party, they might make you laugh, things like that. Those will be people in the I for influential. Now, if somebody is introverted and they're very focused on data, on tasks, they're very organized, They want to make sure the rules are followed. If you're in a parking lot with them, they'll want to make sure that the car is parked in between the lines equally, that sort of thing. That's somebody who's going to be in the C quadrant, who is going to be more conscientious or compliant or controlled. Whereas somebody who is introverted but also very relationship focused, and they're very interested in how you're doing and how your day has been, and your family, things like that. That might be somebody who is more of an S personality, who is into steadiness. In the DISC assessments that we use at Ramblin' Jackson, there is a line that goes through the middle, and we talk about this as the energy line. Now, if somebody's score is above the energy line, that means that when they need to do work or behavior that is more in line with that particular bar, if it's above that line, it'll be energizing for them. Whereas if it's below, those types of tasks or behaviors will be de-energizing, or they'll be draining for that person. Communication tips for different personality styles. At Ramblin' Jackson, we actually created a print little guide for each person, and it has their headshot. It has their headshot. It has their DISC profile. We include our phone number and the town, because we're a remote company. And so my wife actually printed these and laminated them, made a little key ring, and we shipped these out to people with a box of gifts, little snacks and things. So the purpose of this is to keep this close by your desk. That's one of the ways that we help people actually use DISC, and I'm going to use it right now because it's so helpful. So here are some of the communication tips that come from this. If you're communicating with a person who is a D, they're high on the D, they're extroverted and task focused. You want to be clear, concise, brief, and to the point. You're going to want to stick to business, be prepared, support material in a well-organized package. If I have a client who's like this, and I had a client who was even, they were super D, I would bring them a one-page sheet to meetings of boom, 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 here are the key stats, and they would read that, and they would decide very quickly what they wanted to do next. And things that will really bore this person or create tension would be talking about things that are not relevant to the task or the issue that they care about, leaving loopholes or cloudy decisions, or appearing disorganized. If you're dealing with somebody who is extroverted but more people focused, this would be somebody in the I quadrant who is influential, and you're going to want to provide a warm and friendly environment for them. Don't deal with a lot of details, put them in writing. Ask a lot of feeling questions. How do they feel about things, to draw out their opinions or comments? And things that'll create tension or dissatisfy these people would be being curt or cold or tight-lipped, controlling the conversation, not letting them talk, or driving on facts and figures, alternatives, and abstractions. And that's one of the key differences between an I personality versus a D. Is a D might really enjoy those facts and figures as long as they were quick, well organized, and relevant to whatever you were talking about. If you're dealing with somebody who is more on the introverted side, and they are very focused on tasks, data, and order, they would be in the C quadrant, where you're going to want to be, they are communicating. You want to be neat, conservative, careful, and prepare your case in advance. Stick to business, be accurate and realistic. And one other tip that I found when you're working with somebody who is a C personality is to give them time to think in the meeting. Whereas somebody like me, who's more extroverted, I'm going to be more of a dominant personality. I might decide really quickly in a meeting what my decision is, and that's it. Whereas somebody who's more of a C personality they might be reviewing something internally, and you're going to want to give them the space to do that. So things that don't work well with C personalities are being giddy, casual, informal, loud, pushing too hard, or being unrealistic with deadlines, or being disorganized or messy. These are people who are usually very organized. They make some of the best spreadsheets Really appreciate these people. So those are some of the tips for the C personality types. When you're working with someone who is more introverted but people focused, and a lot of people don't understand how that makes sense. Let me explain. There are a lot of people who are very relationship focused and they're interested in people. They're not the life of the party like the high I personalities that are going and making everybody laugh. But most people in the S personality style for steadiness is actually the most popular. I don't know if it's the most popular, but most Americans, or the greatest percentage of people, have an S dominant personality trait. When you're working with people who are an S for steadiness, these people are very predictable, reliable. You're going to want to spend time building rapport and relationship with them. Present your case softly and in a non-threatening way, and ask how types of questions. Let them talk. Give them time to think. Some of the things that will not work when working with people who have a high S personality is rushing straight into business. This is especially true if you are selling to an S personality. You've got to build rapport with them, and I found that selling to S personalities in particular may require more time, overtime, meaning might take multiple meetings even to sell to somebody like this. You can't be domineering or demanding or force them to respond too quickly. And this can clash if you're a high D personality, if you're not aware of this, because you might think that they're just taking too long, but it's just part of how they operate. And so those are some general tips. Of course, everyone is different. And at Ramblin' Jackson, we created these little cards, and on the back of them, we let each person here pick their favorite ways to be communicated with, and also ways not to communicate with them. So if you're a Rambler watching this video, I recommend that you use these and read these. And the reason we put them on the key ring is so you can keep them accessible near your desk. So maybe you're having a hard time communicating with me or with another Rambler. You can use these to figure out ways to communicate, or maybe something that you've been doing that isn't working with them. There is no right or wrong personality. What I've learned in having studied this and in growing Ramblin' Jackson is to really appreciate the strengths that certain personality types bring to the table, such as S personality types are really great. They are really helpful team members because I'm really weak in that area. I have my S is so low. So doing things that require a lot of steadiness, they're not energizing to me. They're draining to me. Where there are people who have a high S that are totally stoked to do those things. So for those of you watching who are thinking of how to use this in your company, I really believe that in order to have a well-rounded team, you need the right people in the right seats. And you need to think about the behaviors that those people are going to need to do in and out. And would somebody who's more extroverted do well in them, or somebody who's more introverted, and somebody who's more task-minded versus people-minded. And these assessments, I use them when I'm hiring as one of the factors to help me decide, is this person going to really excel in this position? And since doing that, I really feel like right now we have the right people on the bus in the right seats who are they're wired to do their job, and they're really energized by it. And now we're getting amazing results. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are curious about DISC personality assessments, there's a lot online. Again, I am by no means an expert in this. I do work with a coach, Wayne Herring. You should check him out, businessbuildercamp.com. I learned a lot of this stuff from him. I would definitely recommend that you work with somebody to get access to these types of assessments. And another fun thing is to do this assessment with your spouse. And then everything just makes so much more sense. Now, when it comes to my DISC profile, I've been tracking I've done the DISC assessment several times over the year, and I realize how much running the business has actually changed my personality, because while the overall markup of my DISC profile is the same, meaning I've always been a high D, then I, low S, and pretty high level of C. What has changed for me over the years is when I was doing more of the work myself, when I was doing all of our SEO tasks, the copywriting, things like that, my level of C was way higher. And I can get into the zone and do very focused, precise work when I know that the outcome of it is going to be to drive the completion of a sale. I love what we do. I love SEO for that reason. But my C has gone down, and my D is like laughably, I see this, I'm like, this makes so much sense. My D is a 94 for natural and a 93 adapted. And so what has changed for me over the years is I've needed to become more, my coach Wayne shared with me that this is a lot like being a fire chief. Somebody with a DISC profile like mine is extroverted, but I'm task focused, and I'm like, all right, here's the fire, you go over here, you're park the truck there, we are doing this. And it's kind of a commanding presence. And it took me a long time to learn to embrace that as a leader. So my DISC profile, if you're working with me, know that that's kind of my zone, and that I decide things really quickly in meetings. And when there's a problem, literally if there's a fire or something like that, I'm excited by that. If something's broken, or if somebody's marketing is broken, I enjoy that, and making decisions quickly about where we're going to go, what we're going to do. Boom, boom, boom. Here are the tasks. And for somebody who a lot of people really like working with me for that reason, because I will decide things quickly. But I've definitely butted heads with people who are maybe a high I. Maybe they're not as into the tasks. They want to move quickly, but I move too quickly with the tasks. I've definitely butted heads with high S people who are like, holy cow, who is this guy that wants to go so fast? So reading this can be helpful. One of the things that creates some tension for people working with me is and this creates a tension for me also, is the high level of C in my personality. Is like the high D is like, all right, we're getting things done yesterday. Go, 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 go. And then the C is like, but wait, it needs to be done really well. And you forgot a comma, and it better be organized. And that can be frustrating for me, but the way that it usually comes out is I end up creating systems and checklists quickly, and then I can direct other people to follow them. And the people on our projects team I hire people who have a way higher level of C, because they are wired to spend the time doing all of those tasks that we do for clients so thoroughly. So those are a couple tips for communicating with me. Support the results, not the person. If I agree, I sometimes I don't care who is saying it. If I agree with the results, come prepared with the requirements and objectives in a well-organized package. That sounds good. That sounds great. Bring that to a meeting. Verify that the message was heard. That is something that bothers me, is if I'm in a meeting and somebody isn't paying attention, or there is a directive given, if people haven't heard it, can frustrate me. Okay, things that are ways not to communicate with me would include letting me change the topic until you are finished. So I encourage that, even though people are like, wow, this guy's calling the shots and he's this high outgoing D personality. Don't let me change the subject until you're done with what you need. I really respect and appreciate that. Ramble on or waste time. I do not like meetings that are rambling or wasting time, or forgetting to follow up. That's something that really bothers me. So those are some tips on my DISC and working with me. And for those of you who are watching who are business owners, knowing your own DISC profile can help you communicate better with other people on your team. It can help you learn to sell more effectively. And, I really believe hiring people who are wired for the position, that is the like secret weapon to maintaining and growing a team, in my opinion, is if you can figure out, and it's kind of an ongoing journey and puzzle, but once you start figuring out what kind of personality is really going to excel in a certain position, and you can assess people before they accept the offer, and you've got somebody who's likely to succeed, it's pretty powerful. Thanks so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments or send me an email, jack@ramblinjackson.com. Was this helpful? Are you using this at your company? I'd love to know. And check out some of our other podcasts about leadership and management at ramblinjackson.com/podcast. Present your case softly. There's a blooper. Whatever you do, don't choke. Oh. I don't know what happened there.